So this is the second Feminist Kitchen that Feminist Workshop is holding. And I'm Milena, I'm your host. I'm a queer feminist activist from Armenia. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the format of these events. So we already had one Feminist Kitchen in the springtime, if I remember correctly, and this is the second Feminist Kitchen. So what usually happens is we have Katya, who is the cook chef, who is leading us in the process of cooking a Ukrainian dish. And while she's doing that, and anyone else who's joined this talk is cooking alongside with her, we have speakers who discuss a particular topic that we have chosen. So for basically, it's like being in your kitchen and doing what we do already as feminists, except that it's in the virtual world and we kind of connect over space and time zones. So there's no pressure for you to cook, of course, but if you are enthusiastic about cherry dumplings, which is the dish we are cooking today, the ingredients and everything that you need to know is on Feminist Workshop's Facebook page and Instagram. And I'm sure Katya will also lead us in kind of telling us how to prepare everything. So I'm actually going to give the word to Katya now, so she can introduce herself and also what we're making today.
Hi everyone, glad to see you all today at our second Feminist Kitchen. My name is Katya. I am a shelter coordinator of ADP women and children in the Feminist Workshop. But today I'm over here as a chef because I like cooking. It's my hobby. Today we will cook traditional Ukrainian dish, dumplings, vareniki, in Ukrainian vareniki with cherries. The July is season of cherries, and dish is really easy and tasty. And this our vareniki with cherries really suit for summertime sadness and merriment. So it's really good for the season. Over here we have 5 grams flour and others for kneading, milk, 250 milliliters, 1 chicken egg, sunflower, and for fillings we have cherries, of course, and sugar and semolina. Yeah, and just a pinch of salt. So, and we need some equipment. It's rolling pin, rolling out the dough, some glasses for making this like circles from dough, and some sponge. That's it. So I enjoy you to our cooking process. The first step is making dough. We transfer this flour to a boil. We have to add salt, 1 egg, and sunflower oil, and add milk. And after knead the dough. So I will do it, and you watch and follow me.
So we have two amazing speakers today. First, Viktoriia Pihul is a Ukrainian feminist activist and member of Socialny Ruch. And our second speaker is Giulia De Ponte, who is an art historian and visual culture scholar, speaker for the Orlando Feminist Association, based in Bologna, Italy. So I'm going to give the first word to Viktoriia to start us off on this discussion. And you are free to start, Viktoriia.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, the Feminist Workshop, for invitation to join me today. And I need to say that this format I'm totally in love with. It's so like cozy conversation between us today while cooking, and so cool. And Katya, I have this vinyl of Lana Del Rey with Summertime Sadness. So it's very, we are on the one in mood. I'm a project manager by profession. So I try to transform all my professional skills and all I know to help our organization to move on, to build some stable organization and to provide our agenda and everything to the world. I was a member of feminist organization in Belarus. It was a few years ago, and while these protests and kind of revolution in Belarus, I have this experience and working under prosecution of the government and everything. I needed to leave Belarus, of course, because of this. And now I'm totally in Ukraine. I live in Ukraine now. I do all my best I can to stay strong, to build our organization, to help in some ways that I can do now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Giulia. I'm from Italy, and I'm a feminist art historian and visual culture scholar. I am here today as the speaker for the Orlando Feminist Association in Bologna, which is an association that first took its roots in the 70s, established itself in the 70s as a center for documentation and research for women, that today precedes over the Library of Women in Italy, which is the only institution of the kind in Italy. Amongst our objectives stands the creation of international networks of political relations, cooperation, solidarity, and dialogue between feminisms beyond Italian and Western, between women and subjectivities of different cultures, biographies, and traditions and religions. And we first met Feminist Kitchen, especially Josh, in an effort to bring a gender caravan to Ukrainian soil. This is a project that we envisioned like last July, and the gender caravan is basically the mission to bring a cargo made of hygiene products and medicines and necessities for queer people and women to Ukrainian soil, which this kind of medicines are related to hygiene products, but as well as reproductive medicines, so abortion pills, and as well as hormones. We got in contact with Josh as to find partner organizations on the territory and outside the territory, and we were able to get to Ukraine with this cargo for 2 times. We hope to get there another time to do it again. Only time will tell that we have here. As one of my colleagues put it, the kitchen is the place where feminists get up to no good. So let's get up to no good and make some cooking.
Yes, we have the dough, and next step is with cherries. And we should add semolina, 1 tablespoon, and we will use just bitter cherries, of course, because it's tastier and safety, and sugar. So we have to add sugar, semolina to the cherries, and start to rolling out our dough and making some circles and put these fillings inside and making varenika.
Question we're discussing today is about how feminism can be a global binding movement between the East and West, the global South and global North.
At the beginning, I need to say that as an activist and feminist over the last year and a half, when all this terrible full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine began, some directions of our activities and the priorities have changed for us, organizations and everything. So, for example, we used to focus on some educational events and some outreach events and everything. And now we work with humanitarian aid and aid to displaced women, shelters, as Feminist Workshop do this, and other means of some assistance that are necessary for survival during all this war. And I know that many feminist organizations are doing a lot in direction of psychological support. I was a member of one of psychological groups few years ago, and this topic, this direction is very important for me, and I really appreciate the feminist organizations who do this now, because this is one of the aspects that is important to survive and maintain our life during all these war and horrible situations that we need to cope with. So, as an activist of political organization, I can say that we do a lot of work now in direction of international activities to keep in touch with the left-wing organization all over the world. Together we make some campaigns and events aimed to support Ukraine, to keep the agenda of the war from the attention of international community. It's very important. It's a huge work and it's worth it. And speaking about our topic of the meeting, I would like to know that these links between the feminist organization in different countries are very important. This is huge because we may have some similar political, some social and economic backgrounds. For example, in countries with low levels of economical development, inequality is higher. The women suffer from having to work and take care of domestic stuff, and in general, different policies are aimed at men. So these unstable political systems are very popular between the populists, who often base their campaigns on some attacking the vulnerable groups, including women. And I think that some unfinished process of urbanization thanks to power of tradition, religious thinking, which is also more oppressive for women. And probably the main important idea that for me that I'm thinking and trying to do is that women really need representation in politics, because only women can speak for women, to stand for our rights and fight to overcome these inequalities. And for me, this point is very important for women to take part in politics, and as the feminist organizations to share our experience of what we can do, what the feminist organization did in their countries, and what we can have as an experience to implement in our countries and everything. I used to have some meetings with the feminists from Argentina, and they shared a lot about how they did some campaigns and marches and everything about abortion campaigns, and we tried to do something like that in Poland, but it was difficult to unite a lot of organizations. But this experience sharing was very important. So I will stop there, but I will underline like my main points. It's about experience sharing, about solidarity between women all around the world, and of course the political representation of women in our politics. Thank you.
Thanks, Viktoriia. So let me give the word to Giulia. I have more questions about the hows of all this, building solidarity and linking struggles, but we're slowly getting into it.
Well, well, I think personally, it's interesting that you use this word, global. But I do believe that feminism, in its core, in its principal values, has a capacity to, I wouldn't say unify, but find ways to unite, as you say. It's not about unification. It would be about dialogue. It would be about creating network of international relations between feminism from all over the world, from all kinds of generations, different people, different cultures, different faiths. And yeah, I would say that the core of feminism that led me to it is this ability to not be focused on the majority of who, on the idea of who wins and who loses, but on consensus. And the capacity, the fundamental care that we put into our communities, the attention, the love, the attention to the other. And I think we need to go back to that and to find a way for feminism to bind the relations between North and South, East and West. Specifically, I would say that in this sense, what we must do, what Orlando has been trying to do for all of its years, way long before I came along, is enact a feminist politics that are transversal. That is to say, politics that must take on the points of view of each and every subject participating in the discussion. It translates into a necessity to build international, intercultural, interfaith, and intergenerational networks of solidarity and dialogue, of which parties are engaged in a continuous effort to arrive at solutions in which no one feels left out, despite the great difficulties that can arise in a dialogue. It is also an effort that must plant its roots into the soils of local communities, because change starts from the bottom. So we have this great tool, which is the internet, which allows us to connect between each other, and it's very good, because look at what we're doing now. We are different people from different kinds of life, and we are connecting here into finding, into sharing opinions. And this is a start, but it is a dialogue. It is the meeting of people in different situations in their lives, and trying to find, a common ground. What can be done? What can be? How do we move forward? And I think these occasions of dialogue are very important.
This is a shape of Orlando is actually, the Gender Caravan actually had this specific objective in mind, the idea of going to Ukraine, not at all in the sense of bringing a cargo, like a theoretical mission, like just bringing a cargo that we didn't know what it was about, we didn't know what women needed, but also to find a way to understand what people needed in Ukraine in that moment, what were the most
important medications and products that were needed in the moment. Thanks to Josh, we were able to connect with other organizations like GenderStream, with Dr. Natasha Shulika of the Clinical Hospital of Emergency Medical Care of Dnipro, volunteers of Transcarpathia, and we started a dialogue about what was actually needed in those in those hospitals. And we found out most of the time that were abortion pills, or sadly abortion pills. A lot of the times it was even about they were asking for us for a specific medication that children that are born underdeveloped or are born early suffer through, because lots of women give birth even before the due date because of the stress they're being put through. And we wanted to lead this caravan to Ukraine ourselves. I wasn't able to go to, but our colleagues have been able to. And through donations of people in Italy, through donations of hospitals, with the help of the WHO, with the World Health Organizations and all the institutions, we were able to get there. And we wanted, first and foremost, to understand how, day-to-day life revolves around. What are the needs? What are the necessities? What are the hopes? What are the words that these people utter? Because only when you are on the soil, you can actually try to find a dialogue that, leads to the enacting of new forms of care, of solidarity and action. And this is why it was so important to us to be in Ukraine ourselves.
I was a member half a year ago, a member of the group, this European Network of Solidarity with Ukraine, and there is a feminist group there, and we tried to run some campaigns, and the main maybe result of our work was a manifesto, the feminist manifesto, The Right to Resist. It was an answer to the manifesto that was written by some West feminists, and it was like some pacifist ideas, and we wrote as a group this manifesto as an answer, and Josh was with me in this working group. We wrote this because we stand for the right to resist for Ukraine now, and it was very important for us. And we united the women from different countries. It was France, it was in Italy, Switzerland, and Poland, and some other countries in Europe, and it was important for us to say this as a feminist. So we did this work. Unfortunately, I have no capacity to be a part of this group now, but the women continue to do some campaigns to unite with this topic of war and how war influenced the women, and they started them collecting donations for women in Ukraine, as Giulia said, about all these humanitarian needs. And of course, we have very fruitful cooperation with the Polish party Razem, whose Ukrainian debt is cancelled or it paused for 2 years for now. And it's our success story about linking with different organizations. And I need to say that the feminist Zofia from a Polish party Razem, she helped us a lot in doing this campaign.
I wonder if it's something that can be like turned into a larger movement, actually, you know, because a lot of things that can happen through support towards Ukraine can be also kind of, I don't know, turned into a kind of mechanism or a way of, you know, continuing, you know, it shouldn't stop there. It should continue there globally.
That is actually the action of Orlando in Palestine and in the occupied Palestinian territories. It actually started in 1987 when Orlando decided to move to take action into Palestine and firstly arrived in Lebanon to visit the camps in which Palestinian people were held. And of course, we are a feminist organization, so our main focus was working with the women, understanding women's needs, because we are, as we are painfully all aware, women's needs go down the drain when there is a situation of exasperation and danger and alert. It started with that and trying to, you know, build effectively. A lot of times we were able to build houses for women in East Jerusalem and Nablus as well. It is an ongoing effort that has started in 1987 and it's been going on for 24 years, and it's still at some, you know, situations going on. And when I was told this by a colleague of mine, Fernanda, she was telling me about how after the 1993 Oslo Accords, when it looked like there was a possibility of dialogue, of trying to find a way to peace, they were able to start conversations between Palestinians and Israeli women. Now, mind you, these conversations were extremely difficult. In one occasion, they met and they didn't even look at each other. But Orlando has this technique that it's been theorized by our Raffaella Lamberti, which is called routing and shifting. And its function is this. Only by being rooted in your identity can you shift to the other and start a dialogue. So it's not, let's just say, a method that forgets identity. It takes roots in identities and tries to, from that, to find a way to communicate with the other. That is to say, these projects were short-lived, but in some occasions they were able to, you know, lead to other projects on Palestinian territories, especially because now, after the peacemaking process looks like it's gone completely down the drain. Of course, that to like refocus on the needs and support for Palestinian women and Palestinian people. But what it's interesting about rooting and shifting is that it doesn't nullify the existence of power. It has conscience into the existence of that power, and that it makes no confusion between invaders and invaded people. So it was communal efforts to find situations in which you could build houses for women that were catered to the needs of women, and even for dialogues for women. So many intellectuals from both sides were called upon to discuss together, activists and all forms of people from all walks of life. We even created at a certain point cultural institutions for the propagation of Palestinian cinema. And in one particular occasion, we were able, let's just say, build this project, which is called Building Constituencies for Women's Alternative Ways for Peace, that led to a short movie called Women Defying Barriers that was made by Israeli women from the other side of the wall, documenting the daily activities of war and exclusion. And yeah, so this is the method of Orlando. Personally, I also think that it's important for us to listen, especially as a Western feminist. It is, again, rooted in this opinion that you must be on the soil. You must be with the people, day-to-day lives in this kind of environment of war, of violence, of imperialism, and giving space for those feminisms to be listened to. For example, last September, we were able to platform RAWA, which is the Revolutionary Association of Women of Afghanistan. They are a collective of women. They are revolutionary women. They employ their time and their efforts. Most of their activists are honestly have to be blurred out. We couldn't have actually. It was a closed door encounter. People had to register before because most of their activists they can't be seen. They can't be seen in face for fear of retaliation of the Taliban. And what we did was creating this round table with other associations around Italy and even forms of government that were the region, were the state, in trying to find to first of all give RAWA a platform to speak to the powers that can actually produce a change, and to hopefully build connections and support for these organizations, monetary support, necessity support, and yeah, this is also a way.
How can we bring messages of groups and feminists that are less listened to in a way that doesn't kind of take over?
I do not know anything about post-Soviet feminisms. I know nothing of Asian feminisms. What does it mean? So personally for me, it's all about to give this platform is also about first and foremost listening, having discussions. And I know I repeat myself, but I don't think really you can give a platform to somebody unless you understand them, unless you at least try to understand them. Because if you give them a platform and you didn't understand what their core message is, I think you will find yourself in the situation which we will impose on them. What do I understand? How do I understand it? And why do I understand it like that? It's a constant process of it's not even about checking yourself, it's about asking yourself the questions. I was raised in a I like to say to people that sometimes my friend tell me I'm not a racist, and I reply, yes, I am, because I was born in a racist, white supremacist, misogynist society. I am a racist, I am a misogynist. Every day I must act to ask myself where are these thoughts coming from? And this is an important aspect of listening. It's also putting yourself in a situation of, I know nothing. I know very little. And it's a difficult dialogue. It will last probably forever. It will. But then again, I think the human experience is just trying to understand each other. And as Viktoriia said, is trying to give a platform to all our in our, how can I say this? Sorry, I don't have the word. In our channels, which can be web channels, can be like I prefer personally channels that are rooted in the territory. So I like to host conversations. I like to even a kitchen. It's a beautiful environment to create new things, isn't it? We all come together. Look, I just want to point out how beautiful this is. Like, they subjugated us women for such a long time into the kitchen, and we built rebellion while eating good food.
I would just like to pay tribute to the extraordinary work that's been done by Ukrainian women and Ukrainian feminists through, Socialny Ru, the trade unions, solidarity collectives, and the enormous, I don't know how you were able to do that, be engaged in a war situation and resistance, and at the same time have to go through the painful process of being the ones to reach out, to look for solidarity, to explain what you're doing over and over again, and to appeal to people in the West who we all thought were socialists and feminists, and yet who failed miserably on the question of solidarity with Ukraine. It was embarrassing. I mean, I think that Ukrainian feminists have got to write the Right to Resist manifesto, which I have signed, and it's still there available to be signed. But you make an enormous impression. I mean, a woman from the Free Confederation of Trade Unions spoke at a trade union meeting on a Zoom in Ireland, along with two people from Dennis Pilash from Socialny Ru and somebody from Solidarity Collectives. And that actually changed the minds of some people who are campists, which is they have come over to the side of Ukraine. I mean, now this is, again, I know I've said embarrassing 3 times, but a year after, 500 days after the war, that people who have spent a lifetime being socialist still didn't understand what's happening, still don't seem to believe in the existence of, even Ukrainians as people. So it's making an impression. It's small, it's slow. We wish we were bigger. We are a very small group of people. But you do make an impression. And the Zooms I have been on from the start and listening to Ukrainian women, Ukrainian feminists, the fact that you can still continue to think or intellectualizing, if you like, theorizing the problems is an extraordinary achievement. And to face up to very difficult questions that I don't see happening in the West. By the way, I should probably have said it's where I'm from, Dublin, Ireland. I should have said where I'm speaking from at the beginning. And I don't honestly think we have big left parties here either. So we still have to build those ones. But I would just say, just again, my total admiration and respect for what you are doing. How you were able to do it is incomprehensible. I wish we were doing more. I hope you're able to continue, and solidarity.
I think it's the perfect example when there is support of foreigners, when they can support us if we don't have any time or possibilities to write by ourselves, but we share common understanding of situation. We can delegate this work to you if we wish. But if we find ourselves in a situation that we actually can do this by ourselves, then just our foreign comrade, they just stepped off and they let us to do this work by ourselves, and then they only supported the spreading. But I think if we can imagine the situation when some foreigners, comrades, can want to reply to some nonsense spreaded by some Western pacifists or like some supporters of Putin regime, and they want to write something by themselves, they can do this, and it can provoke another dialogues and other materials, because sometimes when you see something provocative, something that makes you angry, and you think that it doesn't represent my opinion, it can provoke other materials, other meetings, and so on. So like I think that in this case it went very good. It's like perfect example of cooperation. But also I think one of the worst thing is to avoid any communication, to avoid any efforts to understand and to make your own opinion on the topic, because it's quite often when I meet some people who just they share about war experience, and they don't want to talk about this because it's too complicated, it's not understandable, I will not be able to understand your experience. And then it's sometimes it's look like quite sensitive or even feminist approach, that I just can't understand your pain, I just can't understand you, so I will not talk about this. And it doesn't help. In the end of the day, it doesn't help when you not try to understand my experience and not to want to develop your own your personal opinion about the political topics. So so sometimes very difficult to dialogue or to publish some wrong opinion or opinion then will lead to some contradictory discussion. It might be better than not try to say anything at all.
And thank you to our speakers.
Yes.
For your amazing and inspiring thoughts. Thank you to our audience for your questions, your comments. I just want to say that it's really interesting that the topic of the day was, like linking globally, like as feminists, and look at us practicing that,